All right, here we are with lesson 1.2. We're going to be solving multi-step equations, pretty much using everything we just did in lesson 1.1. So we want to use our inverse operations, and we're going to isolate that variable. Here's an example from the textbook. You can see that we have 8x minus 6x minus 25 is equal to negative 35. We have the equation. We'll combine like terms. The like terms in this case are right here, the 8x and the negative 6x combined to 2x. So we get a two-step equation. We will use the inverse of subtracting 25, so we will add it to both sides. Then we want to undo this multiplication, so we'll divide by 2. Again, if you check your solution, you will always know that you're right. Okay, so let's get started. First one, we just have a simple two-step equation. So we have the variable being multiplied by a negative 3 and added by 1. So I'm going to first start by subtracting 1 on both sides of the equation. Bring down the negative 3z. This is a 0, so make sure that that's an additive inverse right there. And then 7 minus 1 is 6. To undo this multiplication, we simply use division. So z is equal to negative 2. And again, go back in here to check your work. Maybe I'll change the color here to green and get negative 3 times this negative 2 plus 1 has to equal 7. Well, this becomes a positive 6. 6 plus 1 is 7, so I know it works. Okay, so that's what you're doing there. Number 2 is very similar. The only difference is when you have this fraction as a coefficient, you want to multiply both sides by the reciprocal, because dividing by a fraction means multiplying by a reciprocal. So let's jump ahead to number 3. In number 3, we have some like terms. So here's your equal sign right here. So that's the two sides of the equation, okay? Sometimes you have to simplify both. We'll get there eventually as well. But right now we have negative 4n and a negative 8n. The sign in front of the number becomes the sign of the number, or the operation in front of the number becomes the sign of the number. So when we have two negatives, we add them. So we get negative 12n plus 17 equals 23. So we're undoing addition with subtraction. 17 minus 17 is 0. I checked that that works. Bring down my negative 12n. And then 23 minus 17 is a positive 6. Now I'm going to divide, because I'm undoing multiplication, by negative 12. All right, so n is equal to 6 over, or it's going to be a negative, make that negative 6 over 12, and we want to simplify, so negative 1/2. Okay. Again, you can check your work to double check that that works. Again, real quick, negative 4 times a negative 1/2 minus 8 times a negative 1/2 plus 17 has to equal 23. So when you multiply these two together, you're going to get 2. When you multiply these two together, you're going to get 4. So basically you have 2 plus 4 plus 17 equals 23, and that is true. So you know that that's true. Okay. Moving right along. We're going to go ahead and skip this slide. Again, if we need to show these videos in class, we can. You'll just have to let me know. Maybe as the lessons start to become a little more difficult, we'll take the time to do that. So here we have some distributive properties, some parentheses. I'll go ahead and do this one. So we have to get rid of the parentheses first. Okay, so we want to distribute this negative 3. So we'll rewrite it as negative 3x. Negative 3 times a positive 2 is a negative 6. Bring down the 5x and the equal sign. Okay, we have some like terms here, the negative 3x and the positive 5x. So we simplify that to 2x minus 6 is equal to negative 9. So we'll add 6 to both sides. My little equal, bring down my 2x is equal to, and that's going to be a negative 3. I can divide both sides by 2, and I'll get x is equal to a negative 3 over 2. If you were to change it to a decimal, it would be a negative 1/2. And again, you could go back and check your work to save time. I will not do that. I'm going to switch to blue here. For number 6, I'm going to skip number 5 for now, but this case you would be distributing this 1.5. So always double check that if it's in the middle of a problem, the sign in front of that. So this happens to be a positive 1.5, but sometimes it could be negative. So that's something to watch out for. All right, so in number 6, it says you scored 88, 92, and 87 on 3 tests. Write and solve an equation to find the score you would need on the 4th test so that your mean test score would be a 90. So you want your test average to be a 90 or an A. So what would we need to get? Well, we know that averaging something, you add up the numbers and divide by the number of numbers, and there's going to be 4 numbers when we take this next test. So we'll have 88 plus 92 plus 87 plus this next test divided by 4 must equal 90. So that's how we'll set that up. To simplify that, we'll add all those together, and that's going to be 267 plus x. When you divide that by 4, it has to equal 90. So to solve this problem, because we have to solve for x, we'll start by multiplying both sides by 4. That'll cancel the 4s. Okay, so we'll get 267 plus x. Oh, that's not an x. Oops. How do I erase? I don't want to clear. I used to be able to erase or go back. All right, well, we're just going to make that an x. I need to relook at those tools. I used to be able to just find an eraser. And now I don't see the eraser. Look at all these things. Crazy, crazy. All right. And that's equal to, I don't know where that 8 came from. That's going to be equal to 90 times 4, or 360. Okay, so here's our variable x. And so we want to get rid of or undo this adding 267. So we will subtract 267. And we'll find that x is equal to 93. So we need a 93% on that 4th test in order to get an A average for our test scores. Because that clears the whole screen. Okay. Well, there's the eraser. If I go to the mouse, I can find the eraser. Okay, sorry, thank you. Oh, look, I have stickers too. Yay! How awesome is that? So fun. Aren't you glad I found that? Okay, moving right along to the next one. Oh, we're at the vocabulary check already. So you know the drill. Pick one, number 1 or number 2, and answer it in the Edpuzzle. So this was a very, very short video today. And just be yourself, because there is no one better. Couldn't have said it better myself, but Taylor Swift already said it. So that is it for today. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in class tomorrow.